this is just so that you guys can see where the word conics come from, because what you are going to have to do is you are going to have to determine which conic section each is talking about. And a conic section is because if you think about conics, hopefully you think about the word cone, like ice cream cone. And a cone, if you think about it, is just like that, but this is putting on two on top of each other. If you slice your conic section, and this is just to watch for right now, if you slice your conic section, hopefully you can see that that would be your hyperbola. If you slice it this way, then you get a parabola. Here we have an ellipse, and if you slice it there, you have a circle. So 4 types of the most important conic sections that we are going to have to determine is ellipse, parabola, your hyperbola, and circles. And those are what we are going to talk about today. Because I only have 20 days left, and we also have we have 2 chapters I have to go through, we're going to just be pulling from it. So we're not going to go 12:1, 12:2 all the way. We are going to do the most important stuff, and that's what we're doing. All right. So we are actually not even, like in the past, we have covered everything in this chapter. We are not even going to cover all of these formulas. But you do need to know where they are for future classes, or what at least have seen them. So the first thing I want you guys to do, if you have a highlighter, you can use a highlighter. If not, just do exactly what I'm doing and circling them. Remember that you have conic sections. The first one is a circle. So if it looks like this, it is a circle. I want you guys to notice that a circle has x squared and y squared, and then its radius squared. So if it's in this form, your center is 0, 0 with a radius of r, right? If it has a different center, hopefully you can look at it here. If it has a different center, the center is going to be the opposite. So if it was negative h, your center is hk. All right? So just to note that the center is opposite. Ellipse is your second type of conic section. What do we notice about our ellipse? What do you notice different about your circle to your ellipse? Division. So your ellipse has a number that is on the bottom. It's divided, right? So your ellipse will have a division on the bottom. And if you need to, other hours they wrote stuff by it, so that you can you're going to have to just be able to identify them. There are 2 types of hyperbolas. The first type is when you have x times y equals some number. That is going to be your first type of hyperbola. Your second type of hyperbola is right here. This is your second type of hyperbola. What is difference between this and the ellipse? This one has a division sign, but what's the difference between the 2 equations? That is right. Really, you hopefully notice about the subtraction sign. So you have to make sure that you're looking for that. This is where you have x squared minus y squared, or y squared minus 8 or x squared. So your squares will be the thing where your subtraction is. All right? Don't confuse it if it has this right here, just because it has a negative. This would have to be your negative sign. And the last ones is down below is your parabolas. And your parabolas we've done before, but if you have y equals x squared, that's a parabola, or it could be x equals y squared. So what do we notice about that formula? It only has one square, right? Only the x or the y will be squared in a parabola. All right? Let's take and see if you understand what I just said. I want you guys to look at, don't yell it out, but I want you to look at number 1, and I want you to look at all those formulas and tell me, is it an ellipse, a parabola, a circle, or a hyperbola? So just write the word down that you think it is. We're not doing anything else. We're not. It's only writing the word. So does everyone have what it is? And what is it, class? Circle. That is definitely a circle. You're only writing the word. Yep. So I want you now to take a moment and I want you to identify the 8. In a moment I'll probably come back through and make sure you know the first 4. But I want you to take a second and to identify which one each one is.
You probably don't think about the same things we do. You probably don't think of the same things I do. Well, right. Probably have different, I suppose, fields of thought.
All right. Let's see how we did. All right. All right. Eyes and ears. All right. Rachel, what'd you get for number 2? Circle. Oh, circle. Number 3, Colin. And it is, now ellipses is the plural, but so it's just an ellipse. Yep. Number 4, Sammy.
Parabola.
Parabola, yep.
Number 4 is a parabola.
Yep. If you have, remember, see how many squares do you have here? How many squares? 1. So the only formula that has 1 square is a parabola. So if you only have 1 square, you know it's a parabola. All right. Number 5. Number 5. Nate Z. All right. So first of all, how many squares do we have in 5? We have 1 square. A circle, remember, will have 2 squares. If it would have had both, if this would have been a square, yes, it would have been a circle. Well, actually, it probably wouldn't have, because it would have been probably because it's on the opposite side, it would have been a hyperbola. But so it only has 1 square. So since it only has 1 square, it would be a parabola. All right, Dallas, 6.
I said ellipse.
What do we? How many? It does have 2 squares, and your ellipse. If you look at your ellipse, it is separated by an addition sign. Your ellipses have to be separated by an addition sign. This one, it has a subtraction sign, so it is the second case of your hyperbola. So if you guys need to write this whole thing is for hyperbolas, but if you need to rewrite hyperbola down here, make sure you write that you know that this is a hyperbola. When you have it squared and a negative and then a y squared, that is a hyperbola. It could be y squared minus x squared, but it has to be 2 squared and it has to be with the subtraction. So that would be a hyperbola. Mel, what do you have for 7? Parabola. And let's see. Alexis, what do you have for 8? Ellipse is right because it's divided by it, because there's a division, so we have ellipse. Alright, so all of these are in standard form. What happens is sometimes they're in general form. When they're in general form like this, you have to go to the general form and you have to look at this equation. The nice thing is, in chapter 12, you do not have to memorize all these formulas. You will be able to use these formulas on your test. You have to understand how to identify them and pull from them. That's what this chapter really is all about. So you get to use this on your chapter test. When we get to the final, I will tell you which ones of these I would take to the final. So I know you have, because I know you won't be able to take all of them to the final, but I will tell you which ones you'll want to take to that final. So the general form, if you really, eyes and ears up here, if you look for your x squared, whatever's in front of your x squared is your a. If you don't have an x squared, then a is, no, if you don't have an x squared, if there is no x squared in your problem, your a would be 0. You look for x, y, meaning next to each other, not just x or not just y. That is b. X, y is b. If you do not have an x, y, that means b is 0. You look for your y squared, and the number in front of your y squared is c. Later on in the chapter, we will worry about d, e, and f, but just so you know, if you have an x, that's d in front of it. E is where y is, and f is the number without anything. This is called general form. So what we are going to look at today is just A, B, and C. So if A, B, and C, so you gather those and you plug them in. If A equals C and B is 0, you have a circle. I would actually put this as a 1. This is the first thing you want to look at first. Does A equal C and is B equal 0? That's a circle. If it's not a circle, then let's look to see what one it is. Then you just use b squared minus 4ac. If b squared minus 4ac is negative, it's an ellipse. If it equals 0, it's a parabola. And if it's greater than 0, it's a hyperbola. So let's do number 9 together. I want you to take a second and figure out what A is, what B is, and what C is. What I just told you, I want you to figure out what those 3 points are. All right, Nate W. What is A?
Is it hyperbola?
Okay, I want to. My question to you again is, what is A? What number is A?
Oh, -1.
-1, because A is in front of here. Now I want to know what is B. Casey, what is B? 0, because there is no x, y. And C, Sam W. Where is C in front of? C is in front of what? Y squared. Do we have a y squared? Nope. So C is 0. So remember the formula. First of all, you ask yourself, does A equal C? No, so it's not a circle. So the formula says B squared minus 4AC. So B squared, 0 squared is 0, minus 4A is negative 1, C is 0. So we have 0 minus 0, which equals 0. Alright, so what does that tell us it is? It is a parabola. Okay, where this formula is always how it is. Where is the general formula?
Okay.
Yep. So what you have to do is you look in front of the x squared, gives you a. When it's flat like this, you have to go to the general formula. All right. So then a is always going to be in front of x squared. There's no changing. A is always in front of x squared.
Okay.
B is always in front of xy, and C is always in front of y squared.
And if there isn't an xy or y squared or anything,
It's 0.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so I want you guys to try number 15. If at any time you're waiting for me or waiting for the class, you can work on the other ones, but do number 15 at this point. So do number 15, but if you get 15 done, you may work on the other ones to see if you have them, because you will eventually have to do all of them. So do number 15 at this point. Are you stuck? Sam? No. Okay. Anybody not done? All right, Crystal, walk me through it. So A is negative 9 because it's in front of the x squared. Very good. B is 0 because there is no xy, and C is in front of what from our formula? Y squared. So here's our y squared. What number is in front of here? 1. Yep. So C is 1. So we have B squared. So we have 0 squared minus 4 times my negative 9 times my 1. So it equals, what is negative 4 times negative 9? 36. Is that positive or negative? Positive. So we're looking to see which one is it if it's positive number. A hyperbola. Yep, a hyperbola. Hyperbola. All right. That is how you will do the rest of those. We're going to do 17 and 18 together. And these now are just drawing circles. So we're going to practice just drawing the circles. And then that's the end of what you're learning today. But I want you to take a second and I want you to look and say what the center is and what the radius is of this formula.
We don't have to do an extra diagram.
Nope. I just want the center and the radius. Kate, what's my center? 0, 0. And my radius, Justin, is 6. Because you have to take the square root of 36 and it is equal to 6. If 36, say if 36 was 34, how would I find the radius? Take the square root. I will tell you that the back side has some that are not perfect, and there were people that didn't know how to find that radius. All you have to do is take the square root of it. So you go to your center of 0, 0, and I'm going to put a dot there so you know that that's where my center is. Go out 6 in each direction. So I'm going out 6 here, 6 here, 6 down, 6 over. And then I'm going to connect my dots. Now, the reason it says sketch is because it's not going to be perfect, but it is going to give us a great idea of what this looks like. "18, I want you to tell me the center and the radius. Remember, if you look at your formula of your circles, what happens to the signs from your formula to your center? They switch, right? It's just like your zeros. So when you're looking at your center, think about how you found your zeros. So what would be your x value? -2. What's your y value? -3. Your center is just like your zeros. So you go -3. Oh, and what's my radius? 2. So I'm going to go -2, -3. And I'm going to go 2 in every direction. Say it again. You always take the square root of this number because your formula says that it's x squared plus y squared is equal to your radius squared. So you take the square root of 4. So the square root of 4 is the 2. And then you simply connect it. While I am passing out your take-home